Just kidding. Sorry. One thing I want to say is that laughter can be someone's natural state of being and coping mechanism even when they're not doing well. Just want people to remember that. Is there an outlet over here? There is, isn't there? Yes, there is, and I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. Anyway. If you're not going to behave, I think I have to be shut up. If you're going to wander around and be noisy, if you did the thing, have to go. What am I looking for? I've got a clue. I've not one heck of a clue. Oh, right. So this is yet another deep one, but it will be musical and stuff as well. I told him I was rolling very, very soon. He should get a notification. If he didn't, he might have to give it a bit of a time. I don't know. I'm hoping that he knows I am. I might have gotten a little bit behind schedule, even if you were not doing that slow. And hopefully it's understandable. So, I mean, hopefully my one friend I'm thinking of, if let's get a little bit of fresh air in here. You know, it's supposed to have been a very nice day out today, and it really hasn't been. And so, but fresh air is always a good thing. If I can get a little bit of it in here, cool things off a little bit, I'll do it. You know what? It really does make a difference when somebody's here. I know I can be saying all the great things I can be saying. And, you know, some people will see it. They won't always make it obvious, but they will see it. But it's better when they make it obvious. It's nice clothes. Hey, Jay! Just a moment. Or you can be annoying. Go in, please. Now. So making sure that you have the frustration I've had of some individuals in my life. Some, not all. And pretend you're there. Come on, you don't deserve it. Just go in nicely. Well, then lay down here nicely. Or I'll force you to it. I don't know if I want you there. There's too much stuff you can get into up here. I want you to go upstairs. Can you like it up there? You'll be fine. Sorry, I'm just dealing with my dog for a moment. Because he can be stubborn and distracting and goofball as lovely as he is. So, and I'm worried that might come up too bright. I would really like it if this could be held up just a little bit more. I don't know how to do it. There. Okay. So, I kind of, well, I mean, he's doing what he's doing for about an hour. I have stuff of my own to heat up, but I have to figure out what to make for my spouse as well. dinner. Pop that in shortly. And if you get a bit of music in beforehand, that's fine. We might even be enjoying this so much that we can do music with each other, which has been a goal throughout the day that hasn't quite precipitated yet. So we got somebody here, not sure if it's ANVB, which are really random letters, but there is a person behind it, of course. And so hopefully you won't mind, because I actually created the title before telling him in a chat that before I may not have even known he was in the chat yet on this other friend's video. And I just wanted to take a moment. And lately, when I say that phrase, I find myself saying, just to sit right there and tell you how I became prince of a town called Bel Air. It's a lyric in a theme song. But it's also deep rooted. I am going to get this other one and top it off. Feels cold, but not really. Now I'm a little scared already to go back to the room or not. Causing trouble somewhere else. Yeah, I got it all. I'm also going to put a little note. There hasn't been anybody here yet, so I'm going to just put a little note, though. I don't imagine that there's likely going to be any more distractions other than that I should put this other bottle lid on. Then again, I do get more easily. I'm just also going to make a quick little note here, though. So, I want to share something that just transpired. It was really weird, actually, how it happened. So, I've been following this guy, and who's a musician in another country. And probably, and it's funny because I think I even said it in the chat. I don't remember why. I think I said that I thought somebody was new in there and I hadn't seen them, and I'd been following him for about 3 or 4 months, watching his videos, and he posts daily. Usually I do as well. It's at the same time every day. I don't know if there's anything to doing that, if that, makes sense or not. But yeah, he posts daily and rolls for about 2, lately 3 hours. Although that being said, lately he's keeping us on our toes because he's posting at different times and different locations. And I don't want to say he never changes his clothes. I don't know if he actually has a employment or not. I mean, if you don't have employment and you don't have money and maybe you don't drive, you don't always go out very much. And if you're not going out, just amongst yourself or live with 1 or 2 other people who don't really care, or aren't saying anything, you sometimes let things like that kind of slide, showering and changing our clothes. So for the longest time, he was wearing the same. I think it's always been. I should know. I think it's always been those same jeans and the same plain T-shirt. And I'm not saying this in judgment either. I'm just saying that suddenly one day he's in a suit. Now he's been playing in a leather jacket, which I really don't know how one can both not stick or worry about like sticking too much, get warm, hear the jacket. Thankfully, we don't. Um, um, and play guitar and sit comfortably. But anyway, point of the matter is that I don't remember kind of when things started off. I mean, he's always said hi to everybody, or as many as he is able to keep up with because he's very popular. He always he has a song at the end of his podcast. Um, its theme is spring, and I know their seasons are well both kind of opposite ours, and their winters are different. Although if he's in the mountains, it might not be. Anyway, and he has, but it's called Springtime Love, I believe, and pretty much some people may not like it, I don't know, but most of us seem to, and we participate. He'll say each person's name, and then go like there's a bit of lyrics, and it's such a great community there that I'm sometimes so in the chat, and although I have ADHD and I can multitask, sometimes I'm not paying attention. You know what? While I'm talking and not on the keyboard, I'm going to actually, because I couldn't manage to get this plugged in because there's too much stuff in there. I don't know. I think you still got the button plugged in. I'm not going to be over here for that much longer, but it'll at least get it charged up. Anywho, so there is actually, I think I knew the song name. I definitely knew the Fa La La's. And, I'd either Fa La La everybody or the ones that I'm most closely connected with, or both, often, since I'm, often that way. So I think it may have been good that I take it. But what's the case has been rolling for about 3 hours now, so he's probably going to be finishing soon, and then maybe may pop over here. Has been there for perhaps a while, and is in India time. I'm in Canada. But anyway, point of the matter is that, yeah, so he says, follow everybody. I wish there was some here that I could say an example to, but, like G and C, fa la 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 la. And I often joke, 'tis the season to be jolly, because I think fa la 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 la. Right? I'm looking forward to doing the Christmas music soon, actually. Mostly. There's a lot of good stuff. Anywho, so I tuned in today, and I've been getting to there's 2 or 3, but some people have been quite open about themselves. Although one still I only know his last name, and I've not been able to find anything about him elsewhere to try and connect outside of chat or anything. Although he might be open to it, I think. But his job is kind of appealing and neat, but it's kind of more the fact that he is an actor and a model, and I think he plays a little bit of guitar. I seem to remember that, and just a very, very nice guy. I mean, and none of us should be, and lots of people are nice. It's true. None of us should be like, oh wow, a nice person. They still exist, but it's just it's always a nice thing. That's the thing, and then it's great. And I don't know. I mean, these days it's maybe a little bit more common, but certain topics, and you could say certain cultures, but also just certain topics and how the genders maybe look at them different. It is still a thing, as far as like one maybe a bit more progressed, a bit more ahead in the times or whatever. Or, I don't know. There are different what do you call it? things that make up a person and what they are good about and believe in all this stuff. And this could be about anything that I'm talking about. But anywho, come into the chat today, Chapstick, if you're curious, Chapstick if you're not. Chapstick, not Chatstick. Come into the chat today, and I saw two of my favorite people. The other one's lived in a bunch of places before, but by the age of 20, she worked in youth hostels. She, works on farms. She this, she that. I don't remember all the details at the moment. But anyway, point of the matter is that it wasn't that they were saying that they were AI. It was that they were saying he was. And some people have asked him that. And, I guess maybe they're joking, but this is where online and with my, believe it or not, that's what they call it, nonverbal learning disability, and I am on the autism spectrum, and I hate to use these things as reasons, but they could be. This is where, if there's not an LOL or a JK after a statement, I can't tell if it's a joke or not. In person, if somebody doesn't say those things, they might kind of, oh, hi, ANBB, how are you? Glad to have you here. They might make a face or say, to have a little chuckle with what they say, and that can kind of clue you in a little bit. But online, if they don't do that, you don't know, right? And so basically, I thought, why are they calling him AI? I mean, he's clearly not. Unless, is he? Because, I mean, AI is cool and all, but it's kind of a little too much sometimes, some of the stuff that it's got pros, it's got positives and negatives about it, right? And I just thought, well, if they're not joking, are they now like a bot? And because I noticed that there was a bot in his chat for the first time. It doesn't seem to have a lot of trolls and bots, this and that. Neither do I, thankfully. And anybody who's thinking of doing anything stupid, do it to someone else, or don't do it at all. Find something else to do that you would enjoy just as much, and it doesn't, mess around with someone else. But anywho, so basically, yeah, no, I saw that and I thought, okay, this is really strange that they're calling him AI. What's going on with them? And then also my spouse had said something just before I tuned in that I was still kind of thinking about. And this is a shared channel, so I want to be careful, what if it's in the live chat, that's fine, but he's not likely to go looking at that unless I show it. But otherwise, if it's afterwards, so, let this resonate. You can comment on anything else if you're seeing this when it's not live. That would be my request. But basically, I felt like things have been a bit hard for me in some ways. I've been struggling to, how do I put it? I feel like I need to integrate back into my life a bit more, if that makes sense, back into life. For the past few years, it's not that it's all been terrible, whether it's enjoyable moments with my spouse and your dog, or the occasional other thing I do. As I sometimes say, this chapter in my life, for a while, most of my family has passed away or lives far away or is not really great at keeping in touch. I'm still a little baffled about something with my brother. Don't be shy. You don't worry about saying something and distracting me. I'll finish my thought or get back to it, and I'll read your comments. I'm happy to have you here chatting, ANBB. But anywho, basically, well, you're the only one here, although we're only 19 minutes in. I almost want to share with you a little bit. Well, let's let this unfold. So basically, and so when I said in the chat afterwards that it's been stacking up, it truly has been. And sometimes I'm numb to it, or I just, and I know we'll have somebody watching from India. where I don't know if it's different these days, but it's one of those cultures that still has a lot of stigma around mental health. Um, I mean, it's there anyway, and the M word doesn't help. Like can't they call it mind wellness or a mind struggle or something? Like mental's not exactly a great word. You know what I mean? But anywho, so but yeah, so I've been out of work for a while. I've not been able to manage going back to school. Um, I've been going through some changes. Yeah, cool. Exactly. That's what it's all about. I've been going through some changes, like this and that, and in some ways, I haven't been getting opportunities and things that I've really needed, and that's been very depressing to me. I'm so glad to have this platform, and I do my best. Sometimes it's really quiet. There's a lot of stuff on YouTube, and some people are too quick to decide whether they want to watch something or not if they're not already familiar with you. It's people can look and see all the subscribers you have, and it's just another example. Sometimes it's a glitch. Certain things are like some that I was watching last night said they subscribed, but then they said that they have theirs set to private, so they wouldn't show up as subscribing to me, but they did. I don't understand this. And sometimes the menus are different depending where depending on whose profile you're looking at or what device you're using sometimes. But anywho, so basically, yes, I've been trying to, but not driving, not having a lot of money, not knowing what it exactly looks like. It's been hard. I mean, I've been going to a series of workshops for the past 3 weeks. Unfortunately, the last one is this coming week. I'm really looking forward to it, though. I might actually be doing a song or two at it, which I could try and do in this, perhaps. One I'm not super familiar with. I've listened to it once. I've been intending to listen to it again, but I kind of wanted to wait till I heard back from the facilitator. And then there's two other songs, and one actually really fits with this, so maybe I should do it. I was a little unsure. My mind told myself some stuff. Basically, the one song is about finding your niche and finding your calling and being able to live it and feel that greatness and feel that freedom, where you're not just always going around looking for it. And I'd be very curious. I'd be very curious if anybody knows what song I might be talking about. But I came up with a line earlier today. I think it was as I was waking up this morning, something to the effect of sometimes not wanting to talk or sing. Like when I say it's falling on no ears, or I'm not really hearing back from some people. I mean, sometimes I do, and I know the level of my ability and impact when I do both those things. But I guess we live in a very validation-based world, online and in general. And that's not necessarily bad, but I suppose maybe it is a little bit when it's almost as if you expect it. I don't need to tell the person that's watching here, but for anyone that sees it after, I heard a little saying recently, and it's been sticking with me. Conversation is never meant to be forced, but it's certainly invited. As long as you're coming at it, from the right angle, in the right place, in your heart, then, so basically, but yeah, like my 20s were way different. I was taking classes. Some of the time I was working. And it's like knowing what I need, but feeling like I am not able to get there and get it. It's like and I could try things sometimes, and it seems like there's often a hurdle. And sometimes I get stuck figuring out how to get past that hurdle. Sometimes I'll try a little. Sometimes I'm just stuck. You know what I mean? I really feel like I have a lot of potential with my lived experiences and the head on my shoulders and my heart and everything to help a lot of people with what they're going through. I don't want to say that people are going through things that are easier to fix than what I'm going through. That's not necessarily the case. But you get what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Um, and helping others it shouldn't be necessarily about that it's mutual, but it can certainly be mutual. Uh, you know, and I've had some deaths. I've had some fallouts. Living in a cloud of uncertainty is not easy. When you're trying to figure out your life and your future, I can only hope my next decade I'm entering soon, is helpful. But anyway, so I kind of said, I was thinking of dying, in the chat, and I tagged the one who video it was. Now I've tagged him before in comments, and again, he does have a very active chat, but he noticed. And I fairly quickly noticed he noticed, and I stayed. If I hadn't stayed, I wouldn't have known any of this had even transpired. He read. I saw, for lack of a different way to put it, his face drain a little bit. And then I noticed he was talking about my comment. And then a conversation happened about mental health, about seeking help. Somebody had said, he said his spouse is around. I didn't see that comment, but I'm not going to say it wasn't there. But, my spouse is going through other stuff. And as much as we're there for each other, and as much as it's great to have a dog even, I've heard a few other people say recently too, and I don't know if I'd ever really thought about it before, but unconsciously I think I was living that way, where it's kind of like we don't want to necessarily burden those that we're the closest to, be that friends or family. We don't want them to worry about us. They have their own stresses and their own lives and such and such. And but when he stopped what he was doing, I don't know if it was mid-song or not, and it really, I don't know if I'm surprised or not. Like I say, I've tagged him in comments before. I can't remember what I was saying. It was nothing as with a punch and as deep as this. And he's never really said anything. But he stopped what he was doing. And he, suggested getting out in nature, reaching out to family and friends, or sometimes that it's easier to talk to a stranger. Being in the country he's in, I don't know if I'm surprised or not that he actually suggested mental health support lines, which in the past number of years I actually, and even counselors, they need support as well sometimes. They kind of have a hard job and they're trying to live their life, right? But I'm not sure whether I'm surprised or not. Where's my coffee? That I'm being absent-minded and hiding my coffee on myself now. How delightful, eh? Oh, it is here. And then I'm looking right at it blindly. I'm going to have to heat it up. But yeah, so basically, I'll stop moving around in a moment. But in the past number of years, I have used those lines because I ruminate sometimes. When things aren't coming together, it's very easy to just keep repeating that in the mind. That I'm still struggling with this. I'm still struggling with this. I don't want to be struggling with this. I need to talk to somebody. I just want to hear another voice today and not just talk to people online. In typing, as great and as comfortable as that, as much as I'm used to it. And that's not. You know what I mean? Sorry, I'll stop moving around in a moment. But like the one line, they define a certain C word pretty gently, but they are they either feel like they're required to ask it, and so they don't really gauge the conversation that you're having very well. In fact, there's been a guy of a India background, possibly more one or two, but one for sure. I mean, I haven't used these services in ages, but um, he was very nice. I wish I could remember particulars because there was certain things that stood out, but it's been so long. Other than that, his name was Jay, I believe. You're getting ads. I thought I had them on the low level for interruption wise, but it still says you're watching, so that's the main thing. Um, Anywho, so basically, but they feel required to ask. So, and you could be actually, experiencing the fact that, especially when you're in a chapter in life where, like I say, if there's not a lot of family living local, connected, and you mostly have acquaintances because you've either had fallouts or life goes on, and you may wish to still be in contact with each other, and they may actually want to be, but you don't know how to make that contact. And if you knew them from an agency, it's kind of like, oh well, we're not allowed to give that information. In fact, this workshop that I've been taking last week, it came up that somebody because somebody said that they've been going to different things at this place and this and that, and gotten to know some people, and they go out for lunch, and they've been doing it for 8 years, once a month. They're like something like that. I feel mixed about some of the. I don't want to. You never know who's going to see this, and I don't strongly hate any of them, but I don't know if I'm really that drawn to. I might mention my YouTube channel to them and talk with them on here occasionally. I don't know. Yeah, I might do that. I could just say it's the first other. Because once they're going to hear me musically possibly on Wednesday, and then and basically what she said, that if you guys want to exchange contact information and stay in touch, or I do encourage you to do so, but after next week, she won't be able to give it to us, so we have to do that amongst ourselves. That's the way these things are. Even when somebody has had a health issue and used to work there and doesn't work there anymore, and you've known them for years, and they do have contact with them. I don't know. Maybe they think, oh, but but it's not like she wanted to leave the place. I don't think. She had health issues, and I got mad. I kind of got annoyed with a couple of them because they were not helping us reconnect. Then the day I run into this person, it's kind of like I was so surprised. I actually thought she passed away, and so we chatted for a few moments, and then I walked away, and I said, "Oh, that was nice to see her. Okay, so which one are we heading to?" Whatever I said, and even in that moment, I didn't go back and say, "Oh, you know what? I've been wanting to reconnect with you since you stopped working there for ages, and this seems like a good opportunity." Like normally, I think that would click for me. It didn't. Like I say, it's just an example of we can have people in our lives who care about us and who we matter to each other, but life doesn't always keep you connected. I'm so glad that we're connected, ANVB, and I hope that's for a long, long time. But so life can get very isolated sometimes, and especially like I say, if you're not routinely going out to these things, and that so. Like, I hope I don't come across this way, but I'm just thinking of one person from the group. I'm not saying where, and I'm not saying who. But as much as she seems nice, and she went through something really devastating a few months ago, and I know that she's very lonely, except for her other friend, which has the same name as her, and maybe a sibling and a couple other people. She has mentioned how lonely she is. She is back at work now, though, but she exaggerates. I don't feel I do. I'm very accurate, but she exaggerates. She says when she's not on her meds, look out, kind of thing. Maybe we should, kind of thing. But anyway, but nice enough person for the most part. Yeah. So basically, I'd love to be doing more musically. I've been hoping to, yeah, it's hard to explain because, there's quite a different ways of which I could explain. But the point of the matter is, it seems like a lot of my goals, a lot of my dreams, my passions, the spark has died. The spark has died, and I haven't been able to relight it. So again, I'm really happy to have this, and it's even greater when somebody's here, even if it is just one person, such as now, Um, and I have been trying to get back into music, and we got a new instrument recently, and I recently saw someone else I hadn't seen, or someone I hadn't seen online in ages, or been to their videos. I was hoping they'd come to mind. They were actually from India. They're kind of gypsy traveling, and we got kind of into a deep topic in his chat and found out that his mother passed away two weeks ago. I'm just going to sing a little line of something here. I'll see you again. You never really left. You're always there beside me, always there to guide me. And I know I'll see you again. Something like that. Anywho, but back to this other guy. I maybe I've said all I need to with that. Like, I mean, it was just, yeah, it was. I felt a little bit like, oh, I'm making this happen, but it may have helped more than just me. So maybe it needed to happen. Now, I would love to play. Yeah, you started a statement. You had a few more characters to go before, it'd say next comment, and you're giving me a cliffhanger. But part of me wants to play it out, and I don't necessarily need the speaker. I could just use the other phone, although it's upstairs. It's not super necessary, but it might be worthwhile. What I did want to do, perhaps, is take another approach to that. And actually, one of our viewers right now is the only one here at the moment, and the only one who's really been here, I think, and the only one that really matters right now. No offense to anybody. I thought I might read a little bit from the chat. I can't see a couple messages because I briefly blocked somebody. I'm so glad that you were under this out there, but I can see some. I look past the things like, there's a certain type of media that the one is into, which I don't find kosher. I found that out the other day, but I thought, I need the connection. I appreciate the connection. I'm going to look past it. Same with another friend of mine. A couple of things she's, not that we all have to be alike, but there are a couple of things. If they were just someone I had no connection with, I wouldn't think twice to say no. I'd rather not. But you make exceptions for various reasons sometimes in life. Death is a part of it, a permanent part. I think everything else is temporary, even my body. And when I see that way, everything that bothers me doesn't bother me anymore because I know. Well, yeah. Although some things seem to come a lot and they seem to be often, and life is always going to be ups and downs, ebbs and flows. Now, I really value you, as you know. But there was something you said, and I almost want to be my authentic self. And although I know this isn't really maybe a great place to do it, I don't know if maybe I should ask for your email. Nobody else is here right now, and once I make note of it, I could delete it. Or you could. But yes, I'm a diverse person, and I sometimes wonder if I was just a simple Simon, if my life might be easier. But I'm not always deep, but I'm often deep. I just wanted to read a couple of these comments here. and then I'll try and do some music. And G will be down, and I should get that pizza in. Basically, however, I do want to keep checking too to see if you might put your email. Because I mean, and I don't know how sober you are right now. Because I know you said you were drinking some. I mean, you were talking drinks, but I think you said something about anything sweet, and there is a part of me that would like to say what came to mind. But basically, but maybe not here. Basically, though, and I did say in the comment too, I was a bit surprised by my spouse, but not presently. And even afterwards, I said, there was one thing you said, but I'm getting past it and I'm distracted and it's good. But yeah, I can't see those first few messages from this one fella, but at some point I can. When every other thing are as same valuable as other. Not sure I understand what you're saying with that. I'll choose alcohol. I have videos on here about like crutches or things that we use to cope. Sometimes I talk about alcohol. Not judging. Moderation, it's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you have a drinking problem, I really think that, and I don't know what kind of help is out there in India, and I know that well, people from India that come into other countries to live, they may be, but I actually think there's not a lot of active drinkers in India. I could be wrong. Never been there. I could be wrong. So I don't know. Like there's Alcoholics Anonymous. Do they have that where you live? Eating sweet. Yeah. Oh, your sweetness, man. But yeah. And if you could elaborate on that other comment that you put there, because I wasn't sure if I was following it, as I said. Anywho, I'd said that I was a little bit surprised by something I was supposed to say. Because of a trigger, something that hasn't happened as much. Almost did. I suggested a couple times today, and it's kind of sort of what I'm alluding to here. But also, it's been so long. Calling a bag of stuff, which was some of it was just paper, garbage. I'd gotten rid of half of it after the fact, and it wasn't even a full bag. There was a hat and a couple other things in it, and then also not all of us can be famous actors, this and that. Anymore, I actually said, because yeah, that's like it was still yeah, I could try and get funding to be in our theater festival, but I don't know how to do that, and I don't know. I mean, if you have to, if I'm an audience member, I'm still in there for an hour, and they don't always let you back in if you have to go out, and I manage. But if I was performing and moving around a lot, would my health be able to actually handle being in a show? That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, I can do it on YouTube, but at home, if I have to step away for a moment, I step away. No, I don't even know if I have an alcohol problem. You don't know. So how drunk are you right now? How many in deep are you? You say that with a ha-ha, so that makes me think that maybe you're joking because there's that line, the first thing is to admit that you have a problem with, alcohol, gambling, whatever. Again, it's not that I don't know. Okay, it's just I want to know what version of you I'm talking with, and I was pretty sure you weren't super drunk. And again, always be careful. Like we can follow our friends. We can get foggy headed. We can do stupid things sometimes when we're drunk. And, oh, we have no designated driver, but I'm not that drunk. I'll drive. And it may be the last time you drive. You know what I mean? So, or just other things could happen. So I just want to make sure everybody's careful if they're, drinking during holidays and in general. We got 2 other people here. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Curious if you've been to the channel before and how you came across it. And even if it's not a problem because I'm enjoying it. Well, just because you enjoy something, doesn't mean that you don't necessarily need to improve in some areas. Like I was watching some lives the other day, and on the phone, it's real hit and miss. Like, you can click the one tab along the top row of categories, and it'll show you different ones, right? And most of the time, they're news, politics, sports. Not much into the news, not much into the politics, and I don't have cable. I find sports loud and hard to keep up with at times. I can do it with myself, being loud and fast sometimes, but there are some sports I don't mind, but I'm certainly not a diehard fan of really any of them. At times in my life, maybe I have been, but anywho, but there's another version where you can kind of see just your average, I hate to use that word, but average everyday person, like there was one girl, I felt I can't watch her around our dog because she had a Tourette's thing where she kind of made a thing, and she couldn't help it. One thing that did help apparently is singing and making faces. But she wasn't singing at all. She also had a unique pet. And then all kinds of things. I mean, there was one thing that almost made me not want to look that way just because, I don't know, it was kind of gross. But, and then when Halloween season too, but that wasn't what I meant. But then sometimes I can't seem, like I can open one and I can see the chat, but then I can't scroll through them the same way. It's like real hit and miss. I haven't tried much on the laptop, but I saw these 3 guys, probably in their 20s. And I also understand, some people, I want to make this point too, because some people, if they are scrolling that way, they're looking for entertaining, which is music, maybe comedy, not necessarily chatter. Sometimes they are, though. Me, I'm a little bit of a lot of those things in most of my videos, actually. And I mean, I might want to finish what I'm saying, but then I'd be happy to do a song request. Put in a joke here and there. And like I say, things really ebb and flow. I mean, like I'm doing pretty good now. We're having a nice chat and this and that. But it's, and like I say, that community is really important to me. But, and at this time, aside from a couple other YouTube communities, I don't really have a lot of that, like I say. But anywho, these 3 guys, and their chat was really, really fast. This and that, numbers, and I understood it. Part of me kind of found it cool and funny, and the other part of me thought, I'm trying to do all the good I'm trying to do, and sometimes it's very, very quiet. And they're just being drunk goofballs, and one of them had this weird, I don't know what it was. It must have been some sort of medical device or something stuck to his side. But they were dancing on a pool table with their shirts off and almost other stuff. And, I mean, I couldn't get past the fact that how is that good for the pool table? First of all, I don't like the color of the felt, although there are some main colors, but like and they were doing it in shoes too. Didn't seem to be getting damaged. They'd probably done it before. Looked fine, but like, but anywho, so I had a can of beer in this last 5 days. But, life can be hard. And, sometimes it's like, I don't know what else to do. But, people do this to celebrate, to socialize, whether they need to or not. They could just have a good time, or when they're not doing well. And when they're not doing any of those ways, they sometimes do it excessively, right? But yeah, so anywho, the other day though, I found a couple doing music on a keyboard. he's been playing just as long as me, but I think he's a bit older, and very good, great. And I meant to get some song ideas to bring into this one before I started, but I couldn't watch the one I had open quick enough. I wanted to start this. The lady, there's a bit of a distracting thing about her, but I really, I just discovered them last night, but I focus on the chat. I'll focus on the music that they're doing, the fact that they're nice people. That's I also would like to say to the person that's been here for a while, although you're not saying much and you're welcome to, safe space, all that stuff. I guessing you're liking what you're hearing, you're resonating with it or whatever. So remember to hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I appreciate it. But yeah, so basically, I don't know why I was going on about the lives, but am I lagging a bit? No, it looked like I wasn't quite syncing for a moment there. My mouth movements. Maybe he also said that because he saw that paper. Thought, oh, he'll look at that. And yeah. Okay. Anywho, so what I thought I could do. Okay, so I want to just remember I was doing something else first, and then what I thought I might do, and it's so warming partly because of podcasting, but what I thought I might do is play their video silently in the background. By the way, just as I tuned out of Maxie, I don't know if you noticed it, but I couldn't hear him. He must have hit the mute. I let him know. Surely other people did. I'm sure he's fine. He may have even been wrapping up soon. But yeah, so basically, and when I said adorbs, actually, I didn't even mean that one way. But yeah, so basically, and I'd love to talk one-on-one. It's okay that the other person's here. It's totally fine. But there are a couple of things, although one of them maybe isn't meant to be. Maybe the other one isn't either. But you know what? It's a human thing. It's a rose thing, you could say. But I mean, that's the other thing is that, like I say, I'm a very diverse, dynamic person. But I mean, some maybe more so. But anywho, I just want to look at this because when that all transpired in Maxie's chat, there was some really nice things that a couple people had said. Yeah, you're being a night owl tonight, eh? So are they. They were, and I thought it was kind of weird when they said, going weird so far. It was 9 p.m. there. What do you mean so far? Your day's almost done. But then again, they're night owls, but still. And then the other guy had said it had been a while since I posted. It had only been a week. Rodzik, that's a neat name. Living like there's no tomorrow. But he's like, hey, that's me. Like to extend it more. And now I find it interest in some challenging situations. It'll help greatly. Oh, can you give an example, ANBB, as to what you mean about finding interest in challenging situations? Wishing all nothing but a good time, said this guy who I've really been enjoying chatting with there. I'm not, I was just joking. I give a suggestion. I have something sweet. Anything winks. I love your wording. Only in your mind. Oh, hi, Jonathan. How are you? I'm just here for a second. There's only 2 people watching. So you got to be the other one. And I know some people I don't understand the comments thing. So I think I heard somebody